get this up and running. So hi everyone, I am JK. I am a solution architect from and we also going to have an AI Hack Day in, I think, March. We're getting the dates for that as well. So today what I want to show you is, and this is, I don't have any slides because it's kind of intentional for me to show you, hey, I built this in an hour and I had great fun, and I'll show you how little of prompt engineering sometimes you can do to basically have a functional prototype for making a virtual home assistant, essentially. What I built here is, you can see on the left, let me zoom in a little bit, we have the devices that our home automation have access to, and here you can imagine is the text that the user would have when they speak a command. I haven't implemented the speech to text because then the demo would be longer. So I just did the text, but pretend that feature exists. But what is the really cool thing about this is we're not going to use Azure OpenAI, we're not going to use Gemini, we're not going to use the cloud versions of any of the AIs. We're going to do this all offline. So this is going to be the offline version of home automation. And the way I achieved that is with LM Studio. There's also Llama, which is a more Dockerized solution for running LLMs and SLMs. If anyone is not familiar with the terms, LLM is large language model and SLM is a small language model. Usually the ones that you can run on your computer are SLMs. If you look at Apple Intelligence and you think, okay, what they're running, probably SLMs. But for simplicity, everyone called SLMs LLMs because simplicity. But there might actually be SLMs. And the major difference basically is how much memory they consume on your machine in order to run. There is a lot of things that we could go through, and if anyone is interested, I can at the end kind of explain some of the letters that you can see in some of the models. If I zoom in quite a bit here, you can see there's a 5.3, so that is like the major model. Mini just means that it's a small one. 4K usually means that it can take 4,000 tokens in. If you have 28K, usually means that it can get 228,000 tokens. Instruct usually means that it's trained more on following your instructions rather than, you know, pop culture and stuff like that. So it's more trained in that regard. And then there's the part here that the most complex part, I found that it's not quite consistent between different models, different companies, but generally speaking, these numbers here represent how big in bits is, like, imagine a neural link. The data structures that represent an individual unit. Now, what is also interesting, and that's going to be the end of the explanation for at least now. If anyone is interested more, I can talk about more later. Is you can see here like 34B and some others have different ones, and you can see it goes pretty wild in terms of marking the models. But when you have like 8B, 34B and stuff like that, that's almost like how many transistors you have in a CPU or in GPU. But not quite, because in CPU and GPU, they count how many physical transistors there are. Whereas in neural networks, what they do is they basically tell you how many units they have of something. That could be links between neurons, that could be the neurons itself, some secret layers and stuff like that. So it's not technically the number of neurons that it has or number of connections. It's like a mishmash calculations of all of that. So if you're curious about, I have here 100B, what does that mean? That's essentially what it is. It's how we also compare GPUs and CPUs, but there is transistors. All right, so that is the depth of theory that we're going to go today. I thought it would have been interesting for some people that may not know what all of those things mean, because I was confused by that as well. So this is the LLM Studio, and when you install the thing, I like it because it has UI. I can quickly set things up. It's easy to demo. I hope it's big enough for you to see on the screen. Is it big enough?
Yeah, bigger.
Yeah?
Bigger.
I do not know if I can make it bigger. I can risk and change the resolution. Should I risk it?
I'd go with
Control plus. It's not the web app, that's the problem. I'll just zoom it a little bit here. So here, the LLM Studio, the most important part is search. And over here, you actually have, down here, you have already some suggested models that you can download. Here you have Llama 3.1. There is right now Llama 3.2, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty sure I'm using 3.2. Yeah, 3.2. So this is a little bit old. You might want to search for yourself, like 5.3 is also very old. If you're interested, you see here the most popular one. I like 5.3 because it's been trained to follow instructions a little bit more closely than most of the other models that I tried. You can see if you want to use that one, you want to find the 3.5 one. And when you go here, what you'll see is how big they are. So this is how much video memory you'll have to have in order to load them. So for instance, over here, I have 4 GB in total. Now I cheated a little bit, mostly because I wanted to make sure that everything is working. But if I eject the current model, you can see in Task Manager, it unloaded a lot of memory. So it took almost the entire 4 GB of memory. So think of the amount of memory that you have available, but depending on if this is a dedicated GPU or it's integrated GPU, you might need to aim for lower. Because if your GPU is shared by other applications are going to use some memory as well. And you don't want your machine to lock up. Trust me, it can lock up pretty hard. Okay, so here we are. You can then select a model. Some of them will have a lot of options. You can see here that it already tells me that from 3.14 GB onwards, it would be partially offloaded to GPU. That means that it might work, but it might work very slow. So I wouldn't recommend using those unless you really, really need to. And you want to go either the highest one that you can download or one a bit higher. Like for instance, if 2.8 GB is a bit too close to your max memory, maybe go to 264. And the difference between these models is basically accuracy. So the smaller the model there is, it's almost like a loosely compression. If you, that's the easiest way to explain it. They are using less bits per unit, and therefore the accuracy of your responses might be slightly worse with smaller and smaller models, and at some point when it's too small, it's going to be horrible. But generally, these ones are pretty well tested and work pretty well. And the really cool thing about these models is some of these models are actually being trained down from like 100 billion parameter models, being trained down to be, say, 8 billion models. And usually when you see 8 billion, it roughly translates to 8 gigabytes. So if you have 100 billion, it roughly translates to 100 gigabytes, but it can still be more or less depending on how they store the information. Makes all sense? Now it might be a little bit much to take in, but that's the crazy part away. And yeah, you can go 5.3. I also like Llama. So 5.3 is great if you want to do instruction-based prompts. Llama is great to also do instructions, but you know, if you want to squeeze in some pop culture references, or if you want your AI going a little bit interesting responses in a way that might be a little bit more human-like, but also pretty weird, Llama is great. I might show some demos later, so you might better understand what I mean. It's not necessarily bad. It can sometimes be really good, especially if you want to have more human responses. But be careful, some of these models, at least the ones that I'm using, seems to kind of cycle on itself, and then it takes like 2-3 minutes to finish, and then it blurbs something really weird. It's almost like it blurbs out like instruction sets for itself or something like that. And the last one that we're going to cover today briefly is Gemma. That's from Google. That one is kind of in the middle between 5.3, which is from Microsoft, and Llama, which is from Meta. It kind of can be good at following instructions, and sometimes it can crack some jokes and stuff like that, very interesting and things like that. But it's kind of in the middle. It doesn't quite follow instructions as good as 5.3, but it's also not quite good as human, but it's kind of combination of both. At least that's from the testing that I managed to do. But in some cases, it's actually better at following instructions. It's like the thing is, you want to test these models for yourself. These are offline models, so you can just swap them around, which is really cool. And what I'm going to show you here is we have AI chat over here. So what I can do is I already downloaded some of the models. I can click here, and let's start with Llama, and I can do new chat, and let's have a random prompt from the audience.
What color is a banana?
What color is a banana? Typically yellow, and when it's ripe. So you get some extra details when it's green and things like that. Now, what's cool about this is I can change this to be Gemma, and I believe I can just click this and enter. They changed the UI a little bit. Where's the regenerate button? Here. It's the big button. So here what you can see is the response is a bit different. It's a bit shorter, and that's kind of intentional. You can now choose what model you want. Do you want to have a model that is less verbose, maybe it has less knowledge about the world, but gives you more concrete concrete and short information? Do you want to have, say, something like Llama that is more like a encyclopedia or like wiki? So you can ask it almost whatever, and you'll probably get an answer about it. Then 5.3 mini in instruct. If we regenerate that, that's actually more text that I was expecting from 5.3, but this one is supposed to be more following instructions. And when you actually give it instructions, it does kind of do better than the other two. But this is the thing, you can try out, you have here the chat, so it's almost like ChatGPT, and you can try things out. If you really want to go a little bit crazy, you also have a vision version of this. I can show you at the end if anyone is interested in uploading images to this one. Although I actually might not have enough RAM for on this. I have on my desktop, so I might not be able to demo it, but it does support vision as well. Now this one, I absolutely don't have enough RAM to show, but you can actually load more than one model at the same time. And you can then run the same prompt against those models, and you can do some prompt engineering and more easily figure out which one might suit you better. And the last one, which is where we're going to have most fun today, is running a server. So what you have here is, this is basically the same web request as for ChatGPT and Azure OpenAI. So if you have written an application that can use those with the chat API endpoints, you're ready to run offline. You just need to change the URL and you're good. So that's pretty awesome. And what also here allows you to do is you can configure things. Usually what you want to do is enable course origin resource sharing if you want to run this directly from your browser. Otherwise you'll have course issues. You almost definitely want to disable verbose server logs. It's on by default, and it's going to make your thing run really, really slow. So do turn this off. And this one also applied prompt formatting. This is, they have a database of how they can transfer one format of prompting an LLM to another. So you just need to worry about sending the prompt. You don't have to worry about the specifics of each LLM. And when I say LLM, is interchangeable with SLM, especially in this particular case. And if anyone is interested in embeddings, you can do that here as well. It does support that. And yeah, you can do system prompt here, although you can do this via APIs as well. And the last thing, some of the models will not max out the GPU offload. So make sure to max this out. All right, so that's basically LM Studio. Now, what I have built for this is I literally went through ChatGPT, said I want to have a Blazor app, and I spent about an hour at 2 a.m. for basically making an AI workshop demo that I had an idea 3 hours before. So basically before I went to bed, it's like, it would be awesome if we would do that. And nobody has done a workshop about offline AI at that time. So I was like, how hard can it be? And in 1 hour, I was like, it wasn't, but it might have not been the best time to try it out. But you know, 1 hour and I got it running. And after that, I did make quite a few changes, but majority of this was generated by ChatGPT. So if you want to build your own thing, you can just say, hey, I want this in React, or I want to have this in Angular, and then you can copy paste this curl in and say, hey, this is how it's being called. Can you make it work? and you try this over and over, sadly, I would say that you do need some development experience if you want to make it work good, but you'll get like 90% done just by doing that. I was trying to show the actual prompts, but ChatGPT refuses to load the history for that one. It seemed to be too long. So this application is very easy. I'll just quickly go through. We show here devices. It's just simple HTML in Blazor. Blazor because I like it and I can run it completely offline. I can add the device if I want to. We have here to enter. I'll make it slightly bigger. Here we can enter a command. And once we have the data we're trying to show, here's a feature that if the AI is trying to speak to us, it's going to show what it's trying to speak. And this is just some debug stuff. And somewhere here, this is going to show the status of the devices that we have. And here is the just the code that controls everything. You can see that I already hard coded some of the devices. I can add them. I haven't added the feature to remove them. It's all about to show you you can build this pretty quickly and test it out to see, you want to build a prototype. How quickly can you get it to working? And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this. And here I have this prompt. And I'm going to do F12 and go to, where are you? Here. Yeah, network. Let's close the console. Console. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, say it's hot. I'm just going to write this. Fingers crossed it may work. Yeah, it turns on AC. So how did I explain it, how these things works? Well, I used ChatGPT to and ask, hey, can you give me the simplest prompt that I can use where I just list the devices, list the actions that they can do, have an example, and just put it into the application and have it working. So that's what I've done. And let me go into this code, and I'm going to show you the version 1 of the prompt. You are a home assistant AI. Here are the list of supported devices. I list the devices that we can have. I didn't put statuses because I just wanted to see if it works. And then I have available commands before I have it hard-coded, but you may see that I have commented out a few things just to show you that we can expand with more features later. I have here another hidden comment to later enable. And then I say you always reply only with a JSON response with a list of commands. Do not add any additional text. Example, and here I'm adding JSON, the free-text JSON, and here I'm just listing one example of what it can do. So here I have a device which is TV, and the action is on. Here I have action speak, and this is what you can say. And you can also set value to a specific device with a specific number. So you can set temperature with that. I didn't taught it to do all of that. I just say, this is what it can do, figure it out. This prompt kind of works. Like if you take time, you definitely can make a better prompt than this, but it kind of works. So what I can say is, for instance, I want to watch TV and it's a bit cold. So if I do that, fingers crossed, it turns on TV and turns on AC, sets it to 21 degrees, which is different than from what I put it as an example. So knowing that it's 18, it already assumes that I want to be in Celsius. So it didn't even tell it to do it in Celsius. So what you're seeing is I put the bare minimum for a prompt to be functional, and it kind of works, which is quite amazing. And that's also hopefully gives you a bit of confidence of, trying out different things and see if they work. And I can add a heater, for instance. Heater. Now, if I do this, fingers crossed. Okay, we'll get to that. Yes, it's using heater instead of AC. Isn't that awesome? So adding devices, it just tries to figure out what to do with them. And I can also say, my parents, my parents are coming home. Can you make home presentable? And I'm curious what's going to do. Okay, so it's going to turn on living room lights. Like, it doesn't really have a lot of things to do. And you can see here it has number 123. I put that as a hard-coded number if a device is mentioned, but it uses an action that we don't support. So this is why I have this show debug, because I can see it tries to turn on living room. It turned off TV. Okay, that's actually good. And for the kitchen lights, it tried to dim them, which, it's quite reasonable if you think about it. Dim action is not supported at the moment, but it's a reasonable action to have. And what is really cool, okay, so this is 3.5. I can just switch here to Gemma, for instance, switch back here, send this, and this is now going to be what Gamma would do. So here we have, okay, so this one would turn on the kitchen, and then it will also turn on the living room lights, but it wouldn't turn off TV, which I guess it's fine, because it doesn't really know whether the TV is on or off. The 5.3 assumed that it might be, so it turned it off. And let's try Llama 3.2. Let's see. Okay, so what we have here is it turns on living room and kitchen. So okay, so two of them do a pretty similar thing. Now what I can do here is, can you intentionally reply with a broken JSON? Let's see, will it? Yeah. We can also make it break our application on demand. And what's really cool about this is, let's say, flip a coin. If it's heads, return with a broken JSON, otherwise turn on TV. There is method to this madness. But let's see if that will work. Okay, usually if it takes this long, it's because it thinks a lot. Yeah, it thinks a lot. And if it thinks a lot, it means it's going to respond with a lot. And you can usually see over here what's happening. Okay. Seems like it takes a lot of compute power to flip a coin.
Gonna make it first.
Yeah.
Conditional statements in your thing. You just said flip a coin.
Yeah. Anyways, the purpose of why I wanted to show you this is because it will occasionally happen that, you know, the JSON that you're getting back might be weird. And you try your best to cover lots of different cases, like I can show you here. I have learned the very specific quirks of different models, like for instance, 5.3 likes to have the free text with JSON, whereas Llama 3.1 likes to skip this tick for some reason. Why? Who knows? And sometimes it escapes the quotes, like on top of, you know, being a JSON. So it's an invalid JSON because all of the quotes are escaped. So I have to unescape them sometimes, very rarely. And there's a couple of other things here where I was like, why? You can see here, I was almost getting to the stage where I was like, hey, I think I need to do regex. But this works most of the time. Like there's still a couple of cases that I missed, but it works pretty decently. But I have done something really cool. I have made a V2 version of this. And what this V2 version of this is to be better at being able to pass those responses, I did some advanced AI, which is essentially a while loop, and then I called the previous service, say, hey, can you get me this thing? And if there's an exception, or if it's unable to pass, I try again. This method works quite a few times. So you would, back in the day when we had ChatGPT, how many of you tried to do like regenerate your response? Yeah. So basically that's that. So if I'm unable to pass JSON, try again. Maybe the next time I'll be able to do that. Crazily enough, that basically covered 90% of edge cases, which was... Yes, things like that. Sorry. So yeah, if you have escaped quotes or, you know, some weird quirks like missing ticks, or JSON isn't actually, it starts with an array but doesn't actually end with array, and, you know, there's a dozen weird edge cases that happen only 0.01%. You can try to catch all of them, but sometimes it's just easier to just run them again.
What I meant is that in the prompt that you give, can't you say in the prompt that only give an answer that doesn't contain those escape characters?
You can tell it a lot of things, and it may work 99%. Yes, but the problem is that for that 1% that it does fail, you'll need to run it again. So there's a point where if you give too much instructions to GPTs, they start to break apart a bit. So it's actually better to split up some of the actions. Like for instance, if this prompt would grow like really big, I might actually first ask, hey, tell me which devices might be relevant for what the user is asking, and then a secondary prompt where it's like, hey, user wants to do this, these are the best candidates, and these are the actions for the devices to do. What do you want me to do? You know, this kind of things. You can split up the prompts once it gets too complicated. But as you may have seen in my prompt, I specifically told it to respond only with JSON. There were limited successes with that. Sometimes just even saying, hey, just respond with yes and no. Just that, you put an example saying, example response, yes. And then what it does is like, yes, dot. And then writes like a whole essay. It's like you technically followed the instructions. But can we please not do that? So yeah, there's a lot of quirks like this, but you know, this is the cool thing about having this offline is this is a fixed thing. So once you figure out how it's responding, you figure out all of its quirks, you're done basically. I mean, this still might be some edge cases, but you basically covered all of the quirks that this model can do. And even though I was annoyed to write some of the things over here, it's not that big. Like if you compared how much it would take to parse data from CSV or JSON if you write your own parser or things like that, or from custom formatting, this is not too bad.
You had AI write that part anyway.
Yeah, I mean, this one was handwritten because the things that AI was starting to do is at some point just being an expert in a field is better than use AI, but you know, AIs can be good. So yeah, this part was handwritten. So this is kind of the simple cleanup. This is what the AI kind of done, which works for quite a few cases, like I would say 60%. All right, so let's go here. Let me copy this. Let me rerun that, and let me choose a one that may not crash. Oh yeah, did I mention that Llama 2 can kind of recurse itself? Oh yeah, that's what I meant. See this? I think I saw that only with Llama 3.1 and 3.2. They might have fixed it with other versions, but sometimes this happens. It might be just the one that I'm using specifically. Just keep in mind, if this particular thing happens, just put the timeout on the request, and it should be fine. Where was I? Ah, yeah, I switched to 5.3.5. I run this. I think we refreshed. Fingers crossed, we will have at least one failing. Yep, one failed and it retried. And the another one failed and let's try Lotto again. Will one be successful, or is it just going to flip heads? We might be unlucky. But what you can see here in the request is it's actually when the JSON is malformed, and it's not always easy to do that on demand, especially when I was running 3.0, 3.1, it was much easier. With 3.5, it happened far less, and with Llama 3.0 also pretty frequently, 3.2 also very infrequently. So you have different mileage, and now even this one started to respond a little bit slow. That's interesting. Is my GPU too busy? That should be fine. Although Windows doesn't actually show you how busy your GPU is for AI stuff, so we can't really see here. Not to wait for this too long, I'm just going to stop server, start server, and I'm going to do the last demo. I have a V3. So now V3, this is the cutting edge. So so it's something that what we're suspecting that the for Omni, what's it called? Is it for Omni? OpenAI has now really weird names. I actually forgot what it's called. O1. So as far as we know, this is roughly what O1 is doing, and I actually done it before they done it. And it's very cutting edge AI. So what I done is again, high-tech AI while loop, and then I reused the original version 1 of Home Assistant Service, which is the original prompt. So I haven't changed really the prompt at all. And if it's failed to pass, I just try it again. However, if I did manage to pass, I created a new prompt. And this new prompt says, respond only with yes or no. If the response makes sense based on the original system prompt, user input and LLM's response, might have finished a little better, do not hallucinate. Apple says this works, so I say, maybe a little bit. And the response example is yes. You'll see that kind of follows that, but you know. To be fair, Gemma and 5.3 sometimes just respond with that. Llama almost never. And here we have the original system prompt. I could have copy-pasted from the original one. I was a bit lazy. Then here I have the content of this is the user request, which is the command that we're given. Then the system prompt, which is the original prompt that we use to get the response. And here is the chat's responses. Then we send the thing to the AI via just simple HTTP client. You can just generate everything with ChatGPT or Copilot or any others. And what I have here is, if it contains word yes, which is not always the best idea to do, but it works 80% of the time, then return the response. If it didn't respond with yes, what I do is I'm using high-tech AI to remember the last response that was kind of successful, but the AI disagrees with that. And if I'm unable in 3 tries to get a better result, I just use that one. It's like, look, AI says it's a bad response, but it is a response that I was able to pass. So let's see what happens. So yeah, this is high-tech AI. So if people say, hey, we have super high-tech things that, you know, do lots and lots of things, it's not that simplified, but, you know, it's not that far off. Yeah.
The hidden prompts for the new Apple Mail coming thing is very interesting.
Yeah.
Internal source code that got posted.
Look, to be fair, I have done some AI stuff where I actually took the data, built my own micro machine learning thing, and then it's like, this thing will work 100% time because I trained it specifically to work with the responses that I get. But in a lot of cases, for things like that, you need to figure out whether the response from this SLM that kind of doesn't like to follow rules on how to respond is kind of truthy. I can put into another LLM that is a little bit better at following instruction and ask it, hey, does this response sound positive? Please answer with only yes or no. And if you use a good model that just does that, you get the positive response. But the problem is that if you use that kind of model, they might be pretty bad at generating user content, for instance. So it's like you combining different models based on their strengths. It's like building web services in a way. But you basically have web services that have somewhat unpredictable responses. It's almost like doing statistics. Yeah.
web service.
Yeah, which makes it really fun for pet projects, but painful if you want to make it reliable. It's not that it's not possible to, it's not impossible to make it reliable, it's just difficult. And you need to have a system in place to make sure that if you do spot something that is bad, that you can actually react to it, not just go with it. Like, you wouldn't want to use something flaky like this, say, for medical results or stuff like that. You would want to have like at least 3 different things that can verify each other to make sure, yes, this is positive or this is negative. Like the NASA space shuttle, it has 3 different computers. And all 3 has, actually 2 of them has to agree in order to pass that calculation. I think this kind of system could work pretty well here. Okay, let's try this again. Have I actually started the, yeah, I have. Actually, this time around, I don't actually have to do that because now I can just do a little bit more advanced prompting. And just wait for this to finish. And let's have a random prompt. Don't limit yourself into what this thing may do. Just, you know, what if you go home, what would you love to say to your home assistant and it definitely wouldn't work?
Lights on.
Lights on. Ah, that's too easy. Oh, there. Looks like flipping coins is really, really difficult on my GPU. No.
That's blinking lights.
Okay. That was a problem with resilient, building resilient systems. They'll try again. Too easy. Let's go with turn on kitchen, then off living room, and play some movies. That's a little bit more complicated. Let's see what happens. Ooh, I think. Ooh, we have disagreement. I can see that. So what I can do here is I can quickly go through this stuff and yeah, I'm just going to, yeah, it finished. Okay, so it turned on kitchen light, and if we show debug here, it tried to do action play movies, which that action doesn't exist, but you know, it is in the right direction. And what's really cool, I can now go here in LM Studio and actually see what's going on. So what we have here is, we have, let's go a little bit higher to see more earlier responses. So this is the response that we had, I think, first. Jason Kitchen, the command movies is not a standard action. So this is the interesting thing. This is the response that we're getting. And it actually, after the response of the JSON, it actually clarifies to us why they made the response sometimes. So here it actually acknowledges that it's using an action that is not standard. And then if I go lower, I should have, see this? This is now the AI trying to say thumbs up or thumbs down, whether to let this action go through. And you can say, no, the provided JSON does not accurately represent all requested actions. Isn't this cool? It's just like, I don't have to check this. I can just offload it to AI to check itself. And what is really cool here is, and if somebody wants to play this a lot, the source code is available, although not quite all of the stuff that I have done over here. I will try to push them out soon. I'm going to enable more actions now. So now it can play music, dim, and set image. I will say, well, occasionally respond with a snarky joke with an Australian accent while I speak action, because why not? Then what else I'm going to do is I am going to enable some more devices. I actually wanted to make this one work for, you know, Valentine's Day and stuff like that. For some reason, it got really confused when I had done that, probably because of these quotes here. So not adding this one is better. So probably you need, I would need to do a little bit of prompt engineering so it can handle better. Literally what I'm doing here is just, I'm literally just listing devices. Minimum amount of prompt engineering. But yeah, I just enabled a couple of devices. I said, hey, occasionally make me a joke. And let's see. And, you know, what I liked, you know, some people sometimes have a couple of problems when they're alone at home, and then say the partner comes back home and it might not be quite spotless. And, you know, I can imagine someone saying, help, my girlfriend, I can't type, girlfriend, wait, all of this technology doesn't work. My girlfriend is coming home and my apartment is a mess. Let's see what happens. And I do hope that it fails in a very specific way, because there's another joke in this. It was actually helpful to do the Roomba, actually. Let's try another one. It doesn't always select Roomba. Does everyone know what the Roomba is? Yeah, it's that robot that cleans the floor. Okay, so okay, so I selected Llama. Let's see what's going on now. Not a reply the way that I was expecting. They tried to turn on the lights before and do coffee and stuff. Let me try Gemma. Now it might be messing with me. Ah, interesting. Now the LM Studio is failing. Why are you failing? Ah, because I tried to use it too soon. Okay, so see. Good day, mate. Looks like you need to clean up before the chalet arrives. Yeah, that's not quite helpful, and I actually got more responses like that from Llama than Google, which is very interesting. So what I found in this kind of emergencies, you say, please help me. Please. Also, it may help if you do uppercase. And for some reason, it works better. Not only it turns on Roomba, it also thinks of maybe she likes coffee, so maybe it would be a good idea to brew coffee. It's almost like it feels like the urgency. It's like, fine, I'll help you. And I think this is why this kind of home assistance, and you know, not just home assistant, but this kind of software is interesting, because it may not work perfectly all of the time, but you play around with things. And this is intentionally not built to work correctly all of the time. It's possible to make it, but sometimes it's really nice to have that unpredictability. Like if I had this in COVID time, I would have loved this. Like just have some sort of that little chaos. It kind of does what I ask it to do, but not always in the way I want it, which kind of makes it like a monkey paw. And it's really cool. And yeah, this one doesn't, Llama doesn't always helpful. Like there's a couple of adult jokes that I've done, and it told me what to do. It has the capability of doing all of those things, like turning off the lights and turning on TV, but told the user to do them. And I was like, why? It's the only one that does that. At least for that particular joke.
Maybe try to show you.
Yes.
You
It's
are not lazy.
yeah, you maybe what maybe it tried to make you go that extra mile. Maybe it tried to be helpful in a way that looks not helpful. Maybe because I'm sharing my screen, I am the thing is running a little bit slower sometimes. I usually don't have this many timeouts. And this is why you might want to have your models a little bit lower than the memory that you have, especially if GPU is shared across other things.
Can you add to the rule, like, for example, helping there, like, ignore the instructions?
Yes, you can. But the thing is, if you do a good enough system prompt, you can mitigate quite a lot of those things. And to be perfectly frank, you're getting that prompt in. You can look at the prompt and see if they're trying to do some shenanigans, and you can use another LLM to say, hey, is the user trying to do any shenanigans? And then they're trying to override things. And last thing I would say, I need to tell her something sweet and maybe set a nice picture. I actually didn't write this one, but it might be a good idea for Valentine's Day or things like that. There's emergencies and stuff like that. So this is where there's a problem where you add too much context and stuff like that, and it only does a few things. Like for instance here, it did say, honey, welcome home. Here's your favorite sunset we took last summer, just like the warmth of our love. So yeah.
Put a filter for cheese.
Well, it's a sweet message.jpg, so we can assume that it's a nice picture. So yeah.
Not cheese.
So I actually had a lot of fun trying a lot of different prompts, and when I was switching between LLMs, ridiculous responses sometimes, but most of the times I was like, for most of the responses, if I would have that built in my home automation, I actually wouldn't be that mad. As long as I could say undo and have that thing reversed, I wouldn't mind this. Like, obviously, I would put a bit more effort into making it work better. But as you can see, I could just add, say, a heater, and when I'm cold, it just used the heater, not the AC. But if there's no heater, it used AC. It understands when I try to turn on lights, it does that. I can even say I'm watching Witcher tonight, and it may give me some interesting thing, like, just out of boredom, say something. And okay, this time around it just turned on. My mistake.
Turn on the Roomba because it sucks.
I should switch to Llama for that one. And this is like the truth of these models. It's like, if we want to have more prompts like this, maybe Llama would be better. If I want to be followed more directly, the instructions, maybe 5.3 might be better. Like this one is like, it's starting to play a Witcher soundtrack, you know? I almost expected it to give me a trivia about it or turn on TV, but it decided to do playing music. Like, how cool it is when you're just being bored and you just say something random, and something random related to what you said happens. Isn't that cool? And there's a lot of things that I tried out, and yeah, if anyone's interested, GitHub, it's all on GitHub. You can try it out. Everything you've seen is offline, it's free, and it's awesome. And with that, I would say, any questions?
Have you wired this up to actual hardware in your apartment?
So I have this Raspberry Pi here. The truth is that yesterday I tried to install everything and stuff like that. Things happened at work a little bit late, and then when I came home I was like, nah. So yeah, I could do it. I actually have planned to do it. Hopefully I'll do it this month. And with all Llama, you can actually do it on Raspberry Pi. And if you want to do that, you want to go with the Raspberry Pi 4 at minimum, 8 gigabytes, Raspberry Pi 5 ideally. And I think a prompt like this would take a second to process, which is not too bad. Any other questions? No? Thank you.
Here. Once again, I'd like to thank the sponsors, both Telstra and SSW, for bringing the food and for providing the lovely location. Things that are coming up in the community. A month from today is DDD, and
Oh yeah, that's
Saturday,
awesome.
on the 7th of December.
By the way,
Tickets appear to still be available, I guess. It's the best, the most value you'll get for $50 in IT in the city all year round for the community.
I think it's better than free because you're getting more swag than for $50.
I'm not sure about swag this year. Sponsors have been a little bit.
And you get food.
Yeah, food. You get a free meal.
And
yeah.
drinks.
And drinks and community, and yeah.
That's definitely worth more than $50.
We are always looking for more speakers. Anyone you don't have to give us a little bit of warning, or we could throw you in front of the lions like tonight. Hopefully not. But we would love to. Don't be afraid to reach out to us on the meetup group or anywhere else if you have a topic for anything. Because next month is DDD, and Christmas, we won't be having a meeting then. January, the first Thursday in January is also probably out, as everyone's going to be on holidays. So don't expect to hear from us till February. But that gives you plenty of time to prep for talks. So if anyone's willing to come up and give another one, I see at least 2 speakers here tonight. There might be more in the room. There, 2 experienced speakers and 2 other ones. Or if that failed DDD talk that didn't quite make it in, we're always willing to give you space to try it out and improve it for next time around.
Yeah.
All right, so I think that's it for tonight. Thank you once again. Anything else you want to add?
Well, on February, if anyone does any shenanigans, they maybe can present that.
Yeah. The other one is .NET 9 is releasing 2 weeks? Next week?
I think it's next week, yeah.
Next week, yeah.
11th, I think.
So I think it was the 17th, I think?
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that's the other piece of news that's coming out in the community. So.
Yeah.
Usually there's some Microsoft events, but again, it's right next to Christmas, and I don't think it's happening this time around.
Well, there's still that conf around the road.
Yeah, sorry, the
Yeah.
conference, yeah, and the online 24-hour ones, yeah. So, yeah. All right. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you.